And the last thing he texted me was, please just keep our boys safe. The doctors did everything they could. We prayed. We got together as a family, and we got a call the next day from the hospital, and they said, he's not going to make it. Literally, the boys, they lost their father on the same day the world shut down. I just feel like nobody could really relate to what energy I was feeling around me. And I just started having dreams early on about like
Mhm.
family members that would pass away, and they'd come to me in my dreams and guide me through their whole life. And I knew things that no one had ever told me. I'm not willing to waste any time and stay comfortable just to make someone else comfortable. And that's what Reiki or any other energy modalities has helped me understand that in this for me in my life. And it might sound selfish, but I'm here to learn to help other people as well. And turning such a tragic thing into my life purpose has been everything for me.
Hello and welcome to Ego is Here. Today I'm joined by Mandy Concepcion, a Reiki and energy healing practitioner. In this episode, we'll explore her journey, what led her to this path, and how she believes healing can transform people's lives. Hello, Mandy.
Hi, Anna. Thank you so much for having me on today.
It's so great to have you. I have so many questions to ask you.
And
So,
I'm ready
are
to
you ready?
answer. Yeah, I'm ready.
So, Mandy, before Reiki became part of your life, what were you struggling with and what did life look like for you?
Well, Anna, thank you. That's such a great question, and it really is the beginning of my healing journey and what my purpose is today. Back in 2020, when the world just like shut down and everything was so uncertain, and we were told to stay home. The schools shut
Mm-hmm.
down, everything shut down. It was back in March of 2020 specifically. And I have two boys. They're 13 and 16 years old at the time. They're older now. But my two
Mm-hmm.
boys, also their father, he worked for the school systems. He was their network administrator. And he kept joking, saying, well, if
Mm-hmm.
the schools are going to close down, I'm just not going to come in tomorrow. And he was kind of a jokester. And we had some text messages going back and forth, and we were joking about like toilet paper because people were like hoarding the toilet paper and nobody could find toilet paper. So he's like, we shared
Yes.
custody, we co-parented very well. And he's joking and he said, well, when the boys come back to my house, can you just send some extra rolls of toilet paper? So we're literally joking about toilet paper. And the schools were going to close on a Wednesday here. So I said,
Mm-hmm.
you know what? I think I'm just going to go ahead and keep them home on the Monday. And he said, yeah, I agree. And the last thing he said to me that he texted me was, please just keep our boys safe. And I said, absolutely, I will. So I go to work the next day, and I guess he didn't show up for work. And everyone thought, oh, he's just joking. He said he wasn't going to come in, blah, blah. Well, 2 o'clock came around and he still wasn't there. So the boys called me frantic. Mom, Dad's not answering his phone. He's not answering his text messages. We don't know what to do. And I said, well, honey, maybe he's just asleep. Maybe whatever. And I was still on his emergency contact for work. So at this
Mm-hmm.
time, I'll say I was working in a maximum security prison. So I'm literally sitting in prison in this environment where I'm on high alert. COVID's going on. We don't know what's happening in the world. And I get the call that the fire department had to go and kick down his front door and found him on the couch with a slow bleed and just not responsive at all. So I'm getting this information. I'm in this prison that I have to hold it all together. It's quite a walk out of there. I'm trying to wrap up what I'm doing. I work in healthcare. I see patients, the incarcerated patients there I worked on at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm walking out trying to like figure it out in my head, like, oh my gosh, what happened? Is he okay? Or is he gonna make it? What does that mean? He's barely breathing, he's on his couch, he's still alive. Like, what does that mean? So I get home, I'm getting the boys, we're rushing to the hospital, and the doctors are telling me, this isn't looking very good. Like, just do everything you can. So like we could try to drain the fluids out. We don't know. We're like, just do it. And the doctors are giving us this look like we'll do it, but we don't think it's gonna help at all. And the boys are just standing there, like at this moment. And we did everything that we could. The doctors did everything they could. We prayed. We got together as a family, and we got a call the next day from the hospital, and they said he's not going to make it. Well, at that time, we weren't allowed to even go to the hospital. They weren't allowing people in because of COVID. And
Yes.
thankfully, we had a connection at the hospital, somebody really high up that knew our story and said, if you come, don't tell anyone. You stand under this tent. And it was pouring rain. We waited under this tent for probably about 3 hours, and a priest came. He didn't say much. He just said, follow me and stay far behind me, but follow me. So he's guiding us around the hospital to a door that was cracked open, which was like a secret stairway up into the hospital rooms that we had to be super quiet, sneak in, and he led us into the hospital room where he was on life support. And I'm so thankful for that, because if it hadn't have been for the hospital, accommodating us and the priest, we wouldn't have been able to even say goodbye. So I'm so grateful for that. But literally, the boys, they lost their father on the same day the world shut down and the schools closed. So
Unbelievable.
I, yeah, and I know so many other people have so many stories, and that the world, so much trauma and tragic stories at that time. But that for me, really stripped away everything I knew about myself, because I had always just been this strong person, the oldest child, strong for everyone else, strong for the boys, strong for me, strong for my family. And at that moment, for the first time in my life, I didn't know what to do. Everything I thought I knew about me and my strength, which is what our ego
Mm.
tells us, right? Our ego puts us in like we can handle
Yes.
anything.
Yes.
It was completely stripped away, and at that moment was when I had to figure out a way to help heal myself, and a method so I could help heal my boys. And at that moment, I didn't even know who I was as a person. It's
Of
like
course.
I had to lose the identity around being strong before I could discover who I actually was. Like, who am I now? Who am I now without the strong armor, watching my two boys grieve the loss of their father on the day that the world shut down? So I went to see an energy healer because I didn't know how
Hmm.
to process the heaviness and the emotions that was in my body. And through that session with her, I felt the energy move, and I was able to release and cry, because I wasn't even able to cry, and just get the energy moving. And at that moment, I thought, gosh, I want to learn how to do this to help heal myself so that I can
Hmm.
help heal my boys. So I went into Reiki and energy healing, not as a practitioner, to be a practitioner, but just as a means to connect with myself with what we were going
Yes.
through. Because
Hmm.
we didn't have the resources like we would have normally had on the outside world. You couldn't go get an appointment somewhere with a
Hmm.
therapist or to talk. I mean, it was just, you were just sitting in your silence in your home, waiting for the next move and for the next directions of what we could do. So that at that moment is when I went inward, and that's what started my journey.
So tell me about Reiki. Many people have heard the word Reiki, but don't really know what it is. So how would you
So
describe it to a complete
so
beginner, for example?
to a complete beginner, yes. So and there's a lot of misconceptions around like Reiki and energy work. So what I really want to say is it can be for anybody. You don't have to be on a spiritual path. You don't have to be enlightened. You don't have to
Hmm.
be woo woo to believe in this stuff, because energy is all around us. We feel it, we know it. Can we see it? No. And I think for some people, it's hard to explain how energy works because it's something we feel rather something than we can actually see. So,
Yes.
Reiki is actually it's a Japanese healing method that was discovered by Dr. Sui back in the early 1920s. And I think energy healing has been around since the beginning of time, healing through hands. We've heard stories, but this is just termed and coined in Japan called Reiki. And so, Reiki is just a Japanese healing method that like I've learned techniques through that, through Japanese symbols and channeling universal life force energy as a conduit through my body to help
Hmm.
someone relax, help their body relax to where their body starts to actually heal itself. And so we are our own healers. Our body has what it takes to heal ourselves, but we just get so caught up in our trauma, in our grief, the emotions that settle in our body that we don't know how to channel that energy.
I really wonder what experience, convinced you that Reiki wasn't just something you wanted to believe, but something you could trust.
That I could trust. Oh, just the experience I had having a session myself, I had never felt so in touch with myself as I did in that moment, with actually feeling the energy move within my body. And it is so hard to explain. Like I said, it's something that's really felt. But I thought, wow, like we are energy. Everything is energy around
Yeah.
us. And if we do feel safe enough to be in an environment where we can just allow and receive, it's so beautiful. It's
Hmm.
so beautiful. No matter what you believe in, it's not tied to any religion or it's just
Yes.
energy that works through us all the time.
And can Reiki create lasting change after, for example, a single session? Or is healing
Yeah.
usually a process that unfolds over time?
I feel like it just depends on the individual. So I've seen people have multiple sessions and have a different experience every time. And I've seen people that come in and like family members I've worked with, friends, or just people that I've met through friends, clients, and I've seen them have life changing results in just one session. For instance, I had a cousin of mine came in, total
Hmm.
non believer. He's like, I don't think I believe in this energy thing, but I'm desperate to feel good. He had severe head trauma, bleeding in his brain, fogginess, couldn't sleep at night. And he came in and trusted me. And within one session, I was actually a little worried about him because he was sitting there kind of in a daze afterwards. And I was like, "Are you okay to drive home?" And he's like, "Yeah." But what it was is for the first time in his life, he was pain free and he couldn't explain it. So he was like, "What is this feeling of not having pain?" And he's searching around like, "Wait, let me see if this hurts or this hurts." And it wasn't hurting. So it was like an uncommon feeling. It wasn't natural for him. So I've seen stuff like that. Or people come and go, gosh, each session brought up something more that was wanting to be healed and the body wanting to release. Because I feel like when the
Mm.
soul's ready and the body's ready, things will come up and it could be something completely different than what we are thinking we need. But it's what's for our best and
Of
highest
course.
good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Tell me, because I've seen in one of your posts you were writing that you spent years trying to fit in. What
Yes.
part of yourself did you sacrifice in order to be accepted?
I felt like thought outside of the box. And as a little girl, I always felt like I grew up out in the country, so out on a cattle ranch. So we didn't have a lot of friends around. All my friends lived in town, which was 20 minutes away. They all went to each other's homes to hang out all the time. And I was just out in the country going, well, like, what can I tune into? So I started like listening to I felt like the trees talking to me, like the breeze coming through,
Hmm.
just connecting with nature. And now I look at
Yes.
it as finding the magic in that. But as a little girl, I thought, gosh, I just have this imagination. don't know, like, I'm just drawn to this. Like, I'm just looking for ways to connect with anything around me because I didn't have the human interaction and the normal friend group. Just I went to school and then I was home. I lived an hour out in the
Mm,
country. So trying to go to school and my friends are talking about going to the mall and doing all these things. And I'm like, well, I was walking around like looking for some owl feathers, or I was connecting with this. And I just feel like nobody could really relate to me and just what energy I was feeling around me. And, I just started having dreams early on. About like
mhm,
family members that would pass away and they'd come to me in my dreams and guide me through their whole life. And I knew things that no one had ever told me. So I thought, doesn't everybody do that? And they're like, no, you're kind of weird. So the things I would talk about, they're like, that's strange. That's weird. I don't know. So I would start questioning myself and think, gosh, like I just I don't fit in, and
mm,
the school I went to, being Caucasian, I was actually the minority. I was the minority in that school, so I felt different just with that. So, and then just, everything I believed in and everything I talked about, they was like, that's a little out there. So I thought, gosh, maybe I need to not talk about these things, try to fit in, talk about what everybody else is
mm,
talking about, get into the conversations about, everything else rather than really embrace who I was because it was a really, I was really, really insecure. And then I was also one of the taller kids in the whole school. So I would just walk around kind of like slunched over and then they'd make
mm,
fun of my collarbones because they said, oh, you're so bony. So then I was trying to always hide my neck and just so insecure about my appearance. So there were so many things. And then as I started getting older and still trying to fit in with people as an adult, I thought, I'm just going to really embrace my authenticity of what I believe. And once I really started owning that, I mean, I was afraid to even have like an Instagram or social media talking about energy healing work, are people
why?
gonna think I've gone crazy, because I live in such a conservative town, like, my town is so conservative, it's not like going to other big cities where it's more common. In my town, they're like, "Wait, what are you doing? What's this energy thing? Like, are you still going to church?" And I'm like, "Yes," I still believe it.
Yes.
It's not tied to a religion, so I had to try to explain that. And in the last few years, especially going through the experience, learning how to heal myself, learning how it helped heal my boys and so many other people now, I've just really learned to forget the outside noise, forget what everyone else thinks, tune in
Mm,
to what I believe and what I think. And through that, I've helped myself, my family, and so many people embrace their authenticity as well. And it's so interesting how many people have come to me and said, I'm so happy you're talking about this energy work because I believe it too, but I don't want to sound crazy. So I feel like in that way, I'm helping other
mm,
people embrace their journey and focus on what they believe in and really get in tune with what that means for them.
exactly. But
Yeah.
is there still a part of yourself that you're trying to heal? Or do
I think
healers, you know?
You know, I feel like healing, we're never, I don't say never fully healed. I feel like no matter what your beliefs are, I feel like we come into this body. I call it a meat suit. We come into this
Hmm, hmm.
body to
I
have
agree.
certain lessons to learn. And we're here to be on this journey we call life. So I feel like I don't really want my healing to be over. I want to have new things to come up to trigger things in me to focus on where do I need to grow? Because what I learn about myself through my journey is really how I help other people. And I connect to other people through my vulnerability of what I went through. And I think that helps other people feel safe and connected to be open with their vulnerabilities. I think we all,
Mm.
at the end of the day, just whether people will admit it or not, or maybe some people don't, we all just want that human connection to be seen and to be heard and to be understood. I feel like
And to be
that's
loved.
what we're all looking for.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Do you think most people are living as their authentic selves? or as the version they created to survive?
I feel like most people are living in the version of themselves to survive, which is what our ego is, right? Our ego is here to keep us safe, and we're told from a certain age what to believe, how to act, what to do. This is what makes you successful, and we live in those identities. We live in those identities. So I feel like so many people, they live in those identities and they don't really think about or sit and question, like,
Mm,
who am I? What do I really want in life? What do I want other than what I've been told I need to want in life, or how I need to act in life, or what I need to believe in
exactly.
life? So, to answer
Hmm.
your question, most people, I don't think they are. I really don't think they are. But what my experience really taught me, because I honestly thought I was living authentically until that happened with my boys and we went through such a dark time. And it really made me sit and think, wait, who am I? Who have I always been? How have I dimmed my light to fit in with other people or make other people feel comfortable around me? And am I still willing to do that? Because life is so fragile and life is so short that, like, I came here to have a human experience, to learn things and be authentic. I didn't come here to live for anyone else, and that's what I was doing. I was living for what everyone else wanted rather than what I really wanted for myself.
I think most people do that.
Mhm.
We end up living for others, and we care
We
what
do.
others believe about us, and we shape our identity depending on other people's opinions.
Right, because we wanna be liked. We most of us wanna fit in, and, I feel like now putting myself in uncomfortable situations, not dangerous, but just uncomfortable situations. For instance, speaking with you here today, this is the first time I've ever done this. This is a first for me. So I was nervous to tell my story and speak about it. I've spoke a little bit about it online, but not in any depth like this. And I thought, no,
Hmm.
I'm going to do this. This is growth for me. This is an opportunity. And
Yes,
to even
yes.
speak in front of a group of people is just frightening to me. So, stepping out of our comfort zone, because we can stay comfortable all of our life if we choose to. We can stay where we feel comfortable,
Mm,
but we also, if we can just step through a fear of something, I feel like there's so much growth on the other side of that and
there
so
is.
much waiting for
Mhm.
us if we just get out of our comfort zone or we make that choice or we step through that fear. I mean, think about it. We had to be conceived. We had to be grown in a womb. We had to be born. I'm like, there's so much that we've had to go through to be where we are today. I'm like, I'm going to live my life. I'm going to explore what I want to explore. It took so much to get here that I'm not willing to waste any time and stay comfortable just to make someone else comfortable.
Mm,
I'm here to
mm,
live. And that's what Reiki has, and just any other energy modalities has helped me understand that I'm in this for me and my life. And it might sound selfish, but I'm here to learn to help other people as well. And turning such a tragic thing into my life purpose has been everything for me.
mm. Of course. Mandy, you speak a lot about regulating the nervous system.
Mhm.
Why do you think so many people mistake survival mode, for personality?
'Cause I think we're just never really taught. We're really never taught to take that pause, to, sit with ourselves and go within to really think about who it is that we really are. So, getting into survival mode, like I said earlier, talking about, what do I need to do to survive? What's my title? What's my occupation? Who am I? What are my certificates? What's my achievement? All those things are wonderful, but I've asked several people that are highly accomplished, "Who are you?" And they'll say, "Well, I'm such and such. This is my name." No, 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 no. Who are you? How do you describe yourself? Who are you as a person?
Mhm,
And
mhm,
most people stumble on that question because they are. They are the doctor, the mother, the friend, the daughter, the roles we play for other people. But who are we to ourselves? And that's like the hardest question for a lot of people to answer. So I think we
mhm,
do. We're taught at an early age to, what do you want to do when you grow up? You know, all these things. But like, I feel like we're just not really taught to regulate our nervous system. And for me, that means having some quiet time, whether it be even like 5 minutes a day, just to sit with yourself and go, wait, what am I feeling in my chest right now? What am I feeling in my stomach right now? How am I feeling in my head right now? Do I have anxiety? Where could this be coming from? Where am I maybe giving so much and not really receiving as a balance? Not like saying that we have to do something to get something in return, but energy, we
mhm,
do need to figure out a way to balance our energies. Where am I giving and giving and giving and not able to receive? So I feel like checking in with ourselves and feeling those emotions in our body and understanding, having that inner intuition to know, like, I need to take a pause. I need to take some breaths. I need to go into nature. I need to stop saying yes to so many social events. It's
mhm,
okay
mhm.
to say no, because when I say no to someone else, I'm actually saying yes to myself
To
sometimes.
myself.
So, yeah, and that's really where it is, because we can say yes and people please, but then when we do that, we're abandoning ourselves. We don't want to abandon other people, but we in turn are
Mm,
abandoning ourselves by doing that. So I feel like that's just something that we aren't taught growing up. So many people just get in their routine and they don't realize that they're really not connecting with themselves.
mm. Do you think through healing, we can break patterns and change beliefs?
I absolutely do, because I've seen it happen time and time again. And I feel like when you get the calling and you really want to change, because I always say people have to get sick and tired of being sick and tired. We can read all the self
So,
help books
yeah.
in the world. We can listen to all of the self help videos in the world. But until we have that inner realization of something needs to change, because I'm sick, either my body hurts, I'm emotionally dysregulated, I can't be there for my family, until we really have that inner knowing that something needs to change, we don't change. So
Mm,
what I've seen is when people are ready and they want to make that commitment, they do it and they can change. So when people say people can't change, they can't, I don't believe that. Now, do people want to change? That's the
mm.
question.
Yes,
Some
yes.
people do get so comfortable being in their own, their illnesses. Sometimes that becomes their identity. So who does that person become when they heal themselves? They don't know themselves anymore. So even though they don't want to feel that way, they also could be a little scared of, who am I without this illness? Who am I without these problems? So you have to really, I feel like, want to change. And I've seen it happen. When you're committed, you can really do anything you want.
Hmm. And what's the biggest misconception people have about healing?
I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that you have to really, how do I say this? First of all, let me just say that there's four different levels of healing that I talk
Hmm.
about. And one's the medical doctors, and we need that. We need the medicine. I'm not saying one overrides the other. There's also
Hmm.
like talk therapy, talking with a
Yes,
therapist, someone that
yes.
studies this, understanding the mind and how the psyche works and everything. And then there's spiritual healing through, through prayer, through energy healing work, or whatever someone relates to, or any ascended master that a person relates to. And then there's
Hmm.
healing through community and healing through relationships. So I feel like one of the biggest misconceptions is that there's like only one way to heal. Like, oh, I can only do this through medical. And so I feel like if more people understood that healing can bring in all these different modalities, all these different levels, medical, spiritual, talk therapy, just being in community with people, I feel they would they would understand a little bit more, but there's not just one way to heal. There are several ways to heal, and each person
Mm,
connects to it in a different way.
yes. If someone is listening to this conversation while feeling, completely lost, hopeless, or emotionally exhausted, what would you want them to hear first? What would you want them to know?
You know, I'd really want them to know that if you feel like you're falling apart, it's not the end of your story. And sometimes it's the beginning of the real one. Sometimes that's the birth of who you really are and what you're becoming. And you don't have to have it all figured out. You can just take one small step every day that feels right for you and just give yourself grace and just really give yourself the grace you would give other people.
Mm,
And surround yourself with people that help you feel safe and comforted, because that's where we do our biggest healing, where we get our biggest healing from, I think, is being in the situations when we know we need to do the healing to not be dysregulated. Remove yourself, take those breaths in the morning, check in with yourself, tell yourself it's going to be okay because it is.
Mandy, have you ever had an experience, during a Reiki session that you still can't explain?
I've had so many beautiful, gosh, one that really comes into mind is a mother came and she brought her 17-year-old daughter. And I have a really comfortable space in here. I have like a little bed where people can hang out. So the mom, she was just hanging out. I'd made her some hot tea. Well, she got so comfortable that she fell asleep as I'm doing this session on her 17-year-old daughter. And during the Reiki portion, I was at her daughter's feet. And I see her daughter laying here on the table, and one arm just goes out and the other arm just goes out, and her daughter's asleep, so I'm wondering, how are her arms going out and not just falling down to the side? So I'm just, like, watching this happen. I'm looking over at her mom, like, I wanna say, "Are you seeing this?" But the mom's fast asleep, she's so relaxed. And she just had her arms out just like she's flying, and she's just smiling, and she's in a zone. She's somewhere else, you know? I knew she was in a deep state wherever she was, and after the session, I said, "Did you feel your arms going out?" And she said, "That wasn't you holding my arms and spreading them out like wings?" And I said, "No, I was at your feet." She said, "Oh my goodness, I thought it was you lifting both my arms." She said, "And I was wondering, how are you doing this and getting from one side of the body so fast and doing this? It was not me." And she said, "That must have been my angel. It was the most beautiful experience." She said, "I was flying and I felt so free and I felt so at peace." And there's no other way to describe it other as a divine experience. So that's one of the most beautiful stories. There's so many though. There's so many, but that's the one that comes to mind. And I was just like wanting her mom to see it so bad. So I'm like, are you seeing what I'm seeing right now? So it was beautiful, and I going through the journey myself and watching how it's helped my boys and my family, what brings me the most joy is seeing that spark in someone's eye and that glow
Mm,
in them and just how they feel so much better when they leave. Just with getting that energy just moving through and just having that hope that healing is possible and that they've taken the first step. And I always tell them, be so proud of yourself for doing that for yourself.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
So do you think healing happens because of the practitioner, or because people finally give themselves, permission to heal?
Good question. I think it's a little bit of both, but I will say it's mostly the person deciding to give themselves permission to receive
Mm.
and to know that it's okay to soften and it's okay to let your guard down and it's okay to just be present with yourself and allow the energy to come through. I think the practitioner also is such an important part of it because the practitioner is holding space. The practitioner is channeling the energy. The practitioner is a conduit for it. And the person that's asking for the healing or wanting the healing just really needs to feel safe and in an environment where they can fully let go. So it's a combination, but it really
Mm.
has to be with the person really ready to receive the healing and be willing to take that first step for themselves.
And what's something, no one prepares you for after you begin healing? That you're sort of losing your identity, as we said before.
I like to say, I feel like we grow up being told certain things and what to believe, like I explained earlier, like, we're told who to
Hmm.
be
Hmm.
pretty much, and I feel like what I describe to people is I'm spending my life unlearning everything I was taught to get back to who I really was when I came into this world,
Hmm.
and you know, healing isn't linear. Healing is it can be up and down. It's not like, "Oh, I started here and I'm here." No, I can feel here and something else can come up that triggers something that brings me back here again. And then it's just having the tools to work through that because there's just so
Yes.
many layers. There's so many things that we don't even know that happened when we were at a young age that's been in our subconscious for years. As an adult, we do certain things and we're like, I don't know why I do this. I don't like that I do this, but I don't know why. But it's our programming. It's our
Yes.
programming.
Yes.
So it has to, there's so many layers. Like it's like basically like rewiring our brains,
Hmm.
learning new ways, unlearning so many things, reconnecting new connections in our brain to help us understand that we spend most of our life unlearning what we were taught. So I
Yes.
feel like it's not something that can, it can happen overnight. I'm saying anything's possible, but I feel like healing can bring so much joy. Healing can also bring up stuff it's very uncomfortable. Like I had a client I did a session for, and a week after her session, she texted me and called and she said, I'm freaking out. I don't know what to do with these emotions. I have things from childhood coming up that I thought I was over and that I had buried. And I said, our body, it's tired of holding on to things sometimes, So our body, when it's ready to release, it will bring things up. So we have to, be prepared for those uncomfortable moments as well, because we don't know. Our body knows what it's
Hmm.
tired of holding on to. Because our emotions will settle in our body and cause us physical pain. And a lot of people don't know that there's a direct correlation between emotions and our physical pain. They're like, oh no, my back just hurts. It's just my back. I'm like, okay, but your body is speaking to you through this pain. Your body wants you to realize there's something to release. What is it? And Louise Hay, I love her. She has unauthored this wonderful book called You Can Heal Your Life. And I tell everybody
Hmm.
about this book because I'm like, if you can read this book by Louise Hay and you can really get in touch with what your body's telling you, your body's always speaking to you. So when someone says, oh, I have this back pain and they come in, I said, okay, like, where are you not feeling supported in your life? Where is
Yes.
it? And once we identify the emotion and we move the energy, most of the time they're like, my back pain went away and never came back. I had a client the other day said, my feet have been hurting. I buy the best shoes. I don't know, I'm going through shoes like crazy. I'm spending so much money. And I said, where are you feeling stuck in life and you feel like you're not able to move forward? And he's like,
Hmm.
oh, gosh, we identify that. feet are fine. So I'm not saying that's always the case, but our body does speak to us. And we need to learn how to listen. And I help give people the tools to be able to do that and listen.
Mm. And has healing changed your relationships?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I used to, get disappointed sometimes a lot if people weren't showing up for me in the way that I wanted
Mm.
them to, or um, what I started realizing when you start doing this work, you start realizing, well, I started realizing that everyone's perfect where they are. I don't know what someone came in here in this life. I don't know what their journey's like. I don't know what lessons they
Mhm.
chose. I'm still learning my lessons. How can I judge someone else for what they're doing? We don't know their lessons they chose. So I've been really trying since I've been doing this work to kind of meet people where they're at. And I'm not talking about being a doormat or taking any sort of like abuse or anything like that. I'm just
Mhm.
saying,
Mhm.
okay, you can ask me for advice and I can tell you what I think, but you ultimately, like I said, have to get sick and tired of being sick and tired. And only you know when enough's enough. So I just look at people, including myself, going, we are all perfect how we are and where we are. I just see people as perfect where they are.
Mm.
And
A
that's helped
big
so much with my
question
relationships.
a big question for me is forgiveness necessary for healing?
I believe it's a huge part of the healing. And I feel like most of it is forgiving ourselves. I feel like that's really where it starts.
Mhm.
Forgiving ourselves for certain situations that we were in where we felt like we could have done better, or certain mistakes that we feel like, we've made in our lives, and giving ourselves that grace. Yes, there's things that happen to other people that other people have done to us. And I feel like when we feel like we forgive them, we're saying it's okay with what they did, but it's not. Think we forgive so that we can move on and not hold that resentment and hold that pain and hold that anger so that we can move on with our journey of healing. And so
Can
forgiveness
you
is a huge
heal?
part of it. Mhm.
Mm. So you think
Yeah.
that you cannot heal if you don't forgive someone for
I
doing
mean,
something to you?
you can heal in different ways, and every situation's so different. I know there's
Mm.
terrible things that happen to so many people, and I'm not saying, "Oh, if you forgive them, you'll heal." I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, forgive yourself for whatever part you feel like you played in it. Because a lot of people feel
Mhm.
like,
Mhm.
I'm responsible for this. Forgive
For that, yeah.
yourself, because I feel like we hold so much within ourselves, feeling like I didn't do enough, I didn't say enough, I allowed this to happen, I didn't speak up. And forgiving ourselves, I feel like, is such a huge tool and a way to help us heal. We don't
Mm.
forgive the other person for them. We do it for us.
For us. Mm.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, in a world, obsessed with productivity, what do you think people are starving for emotionally?
People are starving to be seen and to be felt, like, in a heart space, and to be heard. I feel like sometimes the more we do, the more actions, the more money we make, the bigger we are, or the better we're seen with the outside validation. I feel like that's such a huge thing. And, and I think we're human. We all go through that, right? But I feel like what I'm learning is, behind all the noise, people just want to have connection and feel seen and be heard. I feel like that's really what it comes down to.
Yes.
Mm.
And what's one belief about success that you had to unlearn?
That you can do and do and do and climb the ladder and climb the ladder and climb the ladder But if you don't get in touch with who you really are and find that love within yourself and fill your own cup, it doesn't matter what you do, you will not feel fulfilled. It will never be enough.
Yes.
It will
Yes.
never
It'll
be
never be
enough.
enough. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So tell me, Mandy, if someone listening right now wants to begin, their healing journey,
Mhm.
but doesn't know where to start, what would be the first step you would encourage them to take?
I would encourage them to, look into all the different healing modalities. There's Reiki, there's, healing through, like, the Inca tribes, like I'm studying right now. I'm on my shamanic journey as well. I'm learning
Uh huh.
the medicine wheel. I'm in the process. It's never ending. I'm learning how to heal through the 4 directions, and, with a wonderful shaman that's teaching me right now. And I feel like, there's your religion or whatever ascended master you prayer, surrender through
Mm,
prayer. And if you're not religious, just go out into nature. Try to connect with something other than what's not working for you in front of you. I would say try different things and whatever brings you peace, whether it's just listening to different sounds that are healing, meditations, guided meditations, whatever it is that starts speaking to your soul, whether it's barefoot in the grass, being around water, start
mm.
exploring and see what feels good to me and start building from there because there's no recipe that works for everybody.
Yes, there isn't. I
Mhm.
agree. So my last question is, if today were the only chance, you had to leave one message, just one for the world, what would you want that message to be?
That message would be to find the joy in your life however you can. Whether it's just your favorite mug you use in the morning, your favorite cup of tea, your favorite movie, your favorite song, your favorite scent, whatever it is that brings you even just a little bit of joy, even if it's that big vacation you want to take, it doesn't have to be huge. Start small. Find
Hmm.
some joy in your day, however you can. Because when we bring that joy into us and we get into our own heart space, that energy expands so far beyond us and it starts affecting everybody else around us. Trying to change people and do all that can be so exhausting, but the best way we can heal ourselves and help others heal is just to be in our heart space and let that energy expand so far out of us that it can't help but to infect everyone else with joy.
Yes, yes. So, Mandy, thank you so, so much for being
Thank
here.
you. Thank
I
you.
really enjoyed our conversation. It was wonderful.
Thank you so much, Ann, and thank you for letting me share what I do and tell my story and my journey about me and my boys.
And to all of you out there, as we always say, ego is here, you are here, and that's enough.